This show is sponsored by Mighty Capital, the go-to venture capital firm for product-first companies like Airbnb and Amplitude. Learn why they are dubbed the best value for the dollar invested at mighty.capital. I'm SC Moadi, founder and chair of Products That Count, a 501c3 nonprofit engaging over 500,000 product managers. Our mission is simple: help you build great products through groundbreaking research, prestigious awards, and top-notch programming like this award-winning Top 1% podcast. Whether you're aiming to boost your career or turn your product team into a competitive advantage, this is your gateway. Visit productsthatcount.org and begin your product leadership journey. This particular series is hosted by one of the first chief product officers in the world, Renee Niemi, and each episode is a masterclass in product leadership. Renee, over to you.
Hi there. Today I am with Roby Baruch. He is the Chief Product Officer of Tipalti. So first of all, I want to start by saying congratulations, Roby. Job well done. How does it feel to be one of the best Chief Product Officers in the world?
Very flattering and exciting to be one of those in the list. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, you and I met several years ago. I've been tracking, maybe stalking your progress as you've gone along, and it's been fun to watch the success of Tipalti as well as your own success on that journey. And I've really been looking forward to this interview. So, with that, why don't we just dive right into it? First and foremost, maybe you can just start by sharing, for anyone who might be listening, just a couple words on what Tipalti does, the products that they offer for the market, and your specific responsibilities as Chief Product Officer.
Sure. So what we do at Tipalti, we basically help companies to automate their entire finance operation. From paying suppliers to processing invoices to deal with expense management, procurement, credit card, and such. We started from a part of that suite, and that's more than 13 years ago, when we were focusing more on paying on the payment part, but we expand for the full suite throughout the years as part of the evolution of the company. As the CPO, I'm overseeing all the product management function within the org, the design, product strategy, product operation, and work very closely with my counterpart on the engineering front and, of course, on the go-to-market front. But that's really much the crux of the product, of the role of the CPO.
Yeah, awesome. So I would love to, obviously, every industry has a ton of nuance to it, but I think the fintech industry in general probably has more nuance than most. And so I would love to just start our conversation today around, your experiences specifically in fintech and what are some of the unique things about leading product management, if you will, in a fintech?
Yeah. So I think, first, the product management is similar in of course, its aspect in all different type of domains. But what's unique about fintech, I think, that what required from product management is a lot of domain expertise. There is a lot of nuance, in when you're processing payment, when you're sending payments, a lot of things that you need to know the ins and outs that not necessarily, exist in other places. And that's, also when you and it's not just it's one that fits all. Like fintech is split to a variety of different subdomains. So each one of them has its own domain expertise. Even within our product suite, We have people that specialize on the payment, like sending payments out. There are people that specialize in the credit card side. There are people that can be more on the compliance-like side. So it's really requires a lot of understanding of the domain in order to be able to serve as a product manager on that front. And that's challenging for us to find as well, PMs, when we growing and hiring more people, to find people with those background, or to get people inside and really to get them to know the domain very deeply.
It's interesting you went right to people because, obviously, I have to imagine a good portion of what you do is either regulated or governed at least by some very strict rules and guidelines. How important is it as you hire that your product management and your product management teams have these specific background and knowledge and experience in these areas?
So it's definitely a huge advantage. I would say the challenge is sometimes, if you only try to find people with those background, is to find those people, because it's reduced the pool significantly. So we did have a lot of success as well of bringing people without those domain expertise, but then getting them to learn it, through different people in the company and becoming part of those domain experts. Just because there is just not a lot of those, and as you said, it's like different regulations and different things that we need to align with. That if you try to reduce the number of people that have experience in those domains, it will be very hard to scale the team.
Yeah, 100%. I noted, obviously, you've been at Tipalti through a very long tenure, unusual for the tech industry. You've been there for over 10 years. It looked like it was bumping up against 11 years, which is amazing. Congratulations on the wonderful career there. What has kept you there so long, A? And B, you started as a director of product and you now lead the entire product effort. Like how did that happen? What were some of your stories along the way, and anything you could share about how you've seen the growth and contributed to the growth would be amazing.
Yeah, sure. So thank you for that as well. So when I joined the company almost 11 years ago, celebrating in end of June, I think one of the things that was very clear, back then, is that it have a great culture. And back then, when I'm saying like 11 years ago, we've been around 10 employees, right? Like that was the size of the company back then. That same culture evolved throughout the years. We are now around 1,200 employees, but still the same values resonate. Those are the values that really represent, our CEO and founder Hanamit. And that's, it's not that you cannot find in other companies, but it's a great culture to be part of, and something that we see with every person that joined. It's one of the first feedback, that we're getting about how the culture is amazing within Tipalti, and that we're been part of the reason, that just kept me here throughout the year. The second part that I think that together really make Tipalti unique is the big vision and opportunity that I believe that exists within the company. As I said, we serve today companies. We've automated their finance tech stack, basically. We have a huge opportunity. We serve the mid-market. We assess it as around 1 million businesses around the world that can be potential customer for us. We now have several thousand. That means that we still have a way to go to really dominate that market. It's a new category that is being evolved when we look at the overall players in that category, between Tipalti and some of our competitors, we believe that it's penetrated around 5 to 10%, which means that we're only at the beginning of what we believe can be that category. And so if I'm taking that opportunity, the big vision that we have ahead of us, and that great culture that the company have, those two create pretty unique opportunity to be part of. And that's what kept me so far, and what I believe will keep me for years to come. On the second part of the question regarding the evolution. So of course, when I joined, we've been 10 employees. The challenges on the product side, I've been the first product person, and grew the product organization from one person to around 60 people today. And of course, along the way, it was different challenges. When I joined, we had one product that we had. Today, we have 6 different distinct products. Have a company with one product versus multi-product. It's a totally different story in terms of how you manage the product organization around it. We had one development team. Now we have almost like close to 40 different development teams. That the amount of dependencies that we have between those different teams and different domain, just for that, managing all those cross dependencies is a total different challenge. Having different PMs. Like when I started, I was the PM. Later on, I managed PM. Later on, I managed managers of PM, and now it's like managing managers of managers, right? So it's a very, like, each one of those stages is a very different milestone, and yeah, it's just different challenges that you tackle along the way, and you evolve with those, and that's been part of like the journey of going from one person to around 60 people today.
Yeah, but that's an enormous amount of scale from the beginning to now, and congratulations on that successful journey. Not all leaders can make those big transitions. So it's to be noted. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
I would love to shift gears for a moment and talk about mentorship. I can only speak for myself when I say, I've been blessed with, all sorts of monumental mentors that kind of lifted me up along my journey. And some of them were direct and some of them were indirect. They weren't all, formal, right? So I would love to get a little bit of insight, through your growth journey, through your journey to the rise to where you are today. Who significantly has impacted you and influenced your career, and why? It could be direct or indirect. It could be a book, or it could be a person who kind of, like for me, it was my dad. So, yeah.
So I feel like I have different people that definitely mentored me throughout the career, and from different angles as well. One of them, is my wife. That is, a big inspiration for me. She has her own company that she founded, and she's been CEO in previous companies, and just the way that she really tackle and look at stuff in her career, looking at her, which is more advanced than I, been in the past. So was something that I've learned a lot from her, just as one of them. I would say my CEO, my manager, Chen Amit, he is at his base a product person. And a lot of the different things that I've learned in product thinking and such, came from his, through the years, through his coaching and mentoring. his thought process and such. I've learned a ton from him, and definitely been a pivotal for that, growing experience. Except for those, I did have I had different people in the industry. Had someone that I've consulted for some years that been a VP product of Salesforce, and someone that been an SVP product at Google, and it's almost like in each stage had different because we evolved like to a different scale of product organization. So it really was consulting with and having someone that will advise and mentoring through that stage. We've just been different. So it's been really different people at different stages of the career that been a mentor for that career.
Yeah, what strikes me a bit, you mentioned your CEO. It's not uncommon that a startup founder CEO comes with a really strong product mind.
Yeah.
What was it like working with a strong product mind in those early days? And did it create conflict, or was it all kumbaya?
Definitely not kumbaya. Yeah, like when I joined, I of course came to Tipalti with a lot of as well of experience in product, but we added some different mindset in some places, and it created some conflict in the early days, and really knowing and understanding each other and how to work together. Um, and so in the early days there were some conflict in those places, but really learning and understanding and embracing the way of thinking that I very much appreciated, like after as I understand um, the view on that was something that evolved throughout the years, and that I just see the difference today between what we've when I joined the company and where it is today in our work. So today it's not kumbaya as well, but it's more more of a kumbaya comparing to the beginning.
Boy, I'd love to hear more stories. I wish we had infinite time. All right, well let's move on to talking about product, our favorite topic. And every chief product officer that I have the joy of speaking to always seems to have like a defining product moment, where either they were involved with or their team were involved with, a new product, and it was a new product launch, and it was kind of their coming out moment. I guess I would love to learn a little bit more about you, about any stories you might have for us that was, a defining product moment for you, and why.
Yeah. So again, going back around 10 years after I've been like around a year into the company. And back then we had what we called our mass pay product, which basically more serving the digital economy, companies that pay their partners, publisher, creators, all of those kind of companies. And back then we didn't have, except for that, any other product. And we started looking at potential direction of expansion, like taking that same engine that we built and take it to other type of payments. And one of the natural place to look at was supplier payments, because it's fairly common that every company have supplier and need to pay them. So we met with some more traditional companies than those digital economy companies in order to assess the need for such an engine that help pay all their suppliers, domestically, internationally. And we felt that there is a need, but not as strong as in the digital economy, when we only come in position that payment automation. And I remember that in one of those meetings when we, met an AP manager, we like open it more broad. We felt that no, it's not like it's it's nice, it will give them some value, but it will not be enough in order really to make the gun. We asked her, what else? Like, what will make your life better? Like, beyond like the payment part, if we can just do anything. And she had like a pile of invoices on the table, like really pretty high. And she like took her hand and said, like, if you help me with those, that's definitely will buy me, and I will, be a customer. And that was like the moment that we really understand where majority of the pain exists for AP teams. And again, it was like we came from outside of the industry. Like for AP, it was we focus on other type of industries, and that was really a defining moment. We went out of that meeting. I've been together with again Chen, the CEO, that I took him to some of those meetings, and we had a bit of a debate of like, is that a direction we want to go? It was like really going beyond what we're doing, like talking about potentially invoice processing and things like that. And to make the long story short, that eventually became our AP automation solution. Today, one of the biggest product that we have, that have that huge TAM that I've talked earlier about. So, and very much almost like created a pivotal point for the company, because it turned it from one product that had still a fairly good TAM to something that is really have almost like unlimited TAM as a potential.
Yeah. So, what was it that allowed the creation of that moment? Was it just the mere fact you were meeting with a customer? Was it the environment? Was like I have this visual of a stack of invoices. So what was it that enabled that?
I feel that the one part is really always to really deeply listen to the customer. That's first. Really understand where they're coming from, and almost like always have the doubting things. And that's eventually what caused in that meeting of like, okay, we have that, rather than try to be biased of like, oh, we have that solution, that's what they want, and try to just get a yes in some sort of fashion. Really come and be more critical of yourself, and trying to come from that angle, open us to really try to just explore other directions. So because we were like, it was important for us to have a real validation, and not just to almost like get, that's what we'll like use. That just in a way change our approach in that meeting to like, okay, let's try to take advantage of that time and just see, if there is other pain that we can solve that will be more meaningful for that, for that person.
So you were really listening to the customer, not trying to validate your idea per se.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? So, have you been able to replicate that success in other ways since then?
Um, so, part of the evolution when we look at other product that we have released, is pretty similar, maybe not in that defining moment necessarily, but the next product after that, we introduced in 2022, several years after, um, was the 2021 was the acquisition of Approve, a procurement solution, and that's also came from a just something that we've heard from the market. We've been focusing on AP automation, not something that necessarily now talking about procurement. Procurement is another domain that go beyond AP. But we started hearing from customer that they're missing with procurement within our suite, and it's not that everything that we hear automatically we're going and doing, but we started to understand why is that they they asking us for procurement for procurement and such. And each customer defined it differently. Some said like will make it the complete suite, or we'll prevent us from outgrowing you because that's the need for bigger customers. And then that's when we look deeply and between procurement and some other needs as well that we didn't serve, we saw that part of what's challenging for the mid-market companies, that they have a lot of different tech stack that they need to build in order to really automate their entire suite. And they're trying to come with one solution that will really to find one solution to implement that and to really focus on their business and not building a tech stack around there to manage the finance operation. And that's what really led them to ask us from different things that are expanding beyond AP automation.
Yeah.
So with that, that's part of how we evolved our vision into finance automation, and that's what also been then the reason we went to find a procurement solution and eventually decided on that front to buy one, and being a very successful as well acquisition and a product that we included in our suite. So it was not one meeting that really created that moment, but it was the same pattern of like listening and trying to understand where it's coming from and really getting to the bottom and the root cause in a way of what's causing those requests.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Obviously, sometimes when we're leading teams and making tough decisions, there's always trade-offs, right? The list of things we want to get done is way longer than the resources we have to get them done and the time we have to get them done in. I always find that some of the best leaders that I've worked with have just this really great process for validating their decisions and measuring outcomes. And I would just love to know what your secret sauce is. Like, how do you get the feedback? How do you know you're making the right decisions? And what do you do when it goes wrong?
Yeah. So we are very, like, if I'm looking at the broader picture in the product org, we are very, data oriented and everything. We're trying to remove as much as we can emotion from the decision and really be, taking just the data. We've developed, an ROI framework for prioritization and trying to assess the the opportunity and make a decision based on very pragmatic approach. But by the way, that's when we say part of the mentoring of like the CEO and such, that approach of like really understanding the value. And I remember one of the learnings there early days saying that if you cannot quantify something, and that's something that he said he learned from INSEAD Business School. If you cannot quantify something, even just as an assumption base, it's better not to do it. Like if you cannot really quantify the value. So that's been part of the basis for the framework of how we prioritize, different ideas that we're getting. We're getting an idea, we look at the potential, we try to create some sort of an assessment of ROI and prioritize that within other things. And if it just doesn't make the cut, we just don't do it. Like we really take and see what's makes the cuts. And so the approach for really prioritizing things within our product being that the way that it's been. Of course, we include a variety of different parameters there in order to validate those directions. But that's really been the way, and it's always refining that. It's not like it's not like we got something that we want to do, we make that assessment, and we just move on, and we keep iterating because we learn new stuff along the way. We see more demand, so we update that ROI. We see less demand because we maybe was miscalculated at the beginning, so we change it as well. But it's important for us to ensure that we're always doing really the most critical, highest priority items.
Yeah.
So that's one. Second is really to ensure that you always, of course, connected to the customer, and it's not something that you just a lot of assumption, but it's really getting from true feedback from customer, understanding the root cause of the stuff, really why it's being asked. So it's not just a feature, it's really to understand the pain and the need that you were solving there. I think those combination of two helped us along the way really to
Yeah.
vision.
Yeah. Do you have any stories that come to mind of when you got it exceptionally right or exceptionally wrong and had to pivot?
So we had different decisions along the way that um, definitely been either validated right or validated wrong. Um, some like, I feel that some of the cases where it was more on the wrong side, sometimes of trying to come out of the box with some innovative direction that eventually didn't prove as we thought it will. Where the opposite, where it was sometimes you have that, of course, that case where salespeople come and it's like, oh, that's the most important thing, and when you invite it and you see it across all of the customer, you understand that the potential impact is nice, but it's not strong enough. And we had a lot of those cases, when someone look at from their own specific set of customer, it's indeed one of the top requests. But when you look at the overall broad cases of all customer, it's really much lower in the list. So that's helped us to just really remove a lot of those cases where things seems much more important, but then when you look at the numbers and such, it's just not.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, super insightful information. My last question for you today is going to be a question I ask all of the chief product officers. Obviously, this has been one heck of a year for product management. When you think about the rise of AI and the potential impact to like every aspect of how we do business, how our customers do business, how we'll evaluate our own selves in the future. I would just love your insights, both short and long term, on how you think AI is going to impact the world of product management.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest questions for all of us, that we can just try to predict, but we'll need to see exactly how it evolves. My believe first, in the short term, I think it's easier to already start seeing some of the impact. And what we're seeing, for example, within the company is a lot of different initiative that we're running in order to really making the work more efficient by helping writing a lot of the documents. Like it can be, writing the PRD, at least a draft PRD for requirement that you have, or it can be writing knowledge base articles that, or as part of the release note, like really writing a lot of the content that PMs write to just use different tools of Gen AI to do that. So that's something that we're already doing, and we're planning to do a lot more, and we see how it just make it more efficient. So I feel that's really the impact on the short term, making things more efficient on that. Long or very long, I think that's I have some theories that the role will evolve and will change. I think between engineering and product, the fact that we believe that there will be more bots that can really be coming engineering, that you need to with different prompts basically building a software in a very different way. I believe there will be more of merge between those different roles of product engineering in a way, because you will not necessarily need all the different roles that you have today. You will have someone that have an idea to create something. It will be also cheaper to develop something, right? So it will be very easy to validate that, maybe potentially less research are prompt. And you can basically, rather than creating requirement and pass it to engineering, creating it directly using a bot, like to the bot and getting the output of a software. And then it's raises the question, it's the question whether it will be still a technical work that you need someone that have the technical skills, or maybe not. So maybe it's like a hybrid of like someone that, a PM or something like that, a bit more technical that can work with a bot directly and start creating software almost like instantly. So I think there will be some like shift in the roles, and we'll need to see how it evolves exactly. But definitely very, very exciting, like moment in the history to see those coming into life, the different power that AI can give us.
Yeah, it really is. I think that is a wonderful note to end things on. Roby, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Really appreciate the time you took today with us. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is SC Moadi again, founder and chair of Products That Count. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you like what you heard, be sure to leave us a review on your favorite platform, including Spotify and Apple. And please check out our other resources at productsthatcount.org. They're designed to accelerate your product career and make product the most important function in business. Until soon.